My idea for today, and I tried an OBS and actual window capture wouldn't work, so we're doing display capture, was to give a Google Maps kind of tour of where I've lived and the very few places I've visited. Because when you grow up poor, vacations aren't a thing that happen. You might move and see a new place that way, but not vacations. So, and yeah, the starting frame is everywhere I've ever been, you can see right now. Um, so, I have lived multiple places in Connecticut. If I were asked where I grew up, I would say Connecticut. Where I'm from is New England because I've spent almost all of my life here. But there's a wedge of towns along this side of this is the Connecticut River. You zoom in close enough, it'll even tell you. There's a clump of towns here that I've lived in. So, but I started there 0 to 2. We moved down here for a little bit when I was 2, then moved back up to Connecticut. That is North Carolina. Have family there, which is why that was the place. And then we're back up here. And then when I am 7, we moved to this terrible little place with a weird name called Wilmersdorf, Pennsylvania. We were there for a few months. It was bad. Then we moved back down here. Then we moved back up to Connecticut again. Same area, where we stayed until after the first year of high school. Different towns, different apartments, but same place. Then we moved up here on the New Hampshire side of the line, where I did the last 3 years of high school until after I got sick. Not even just until I was an adult, until after I got sick. I had never lived anywhere, never been in a single school system for more than 3 years. We bounced around. I moved more times than I had years at that point. After high school, I moved in with a terrible person in a terrible town just on the Massachusetts side of the border down here for various reasons. And my dad got a job there. Thankfully, I never had to live there. I've heard very bad things about the whole thing. And then they moved down in here. Actually, it's at this junction here. All these little roads meet up at kind of the center of the town I live in now. But I moved from here. I went down and took 80 because 80, you see 90, but there you are, 80. Did 80 really cut that low in New York? Yeah, I guess so. But we took 80, and we will get to why it's not the recommended path. But it went 70 is the way we should have gone. But 80, when you can see it, cuts all the way across to where I was moving, which is Reno. But the reason why I cannot recommend it is the 450 miles of nothing called Nebraska. It may be a nice place to live. I don't know. There was nothing, not even a tree to veer yourself into off the highway to end it all. 450 miles across of nothing. And I had to go through that twice. Now, see, if there had been 70, I would have gotten to see Colorado. But you see how 80 just skirts above it? I did get to prove that Wyoming is real, but and there are nice things to see in this area, but I hit it at night both times. Now, the salt in Salt Lake City is airborne. Like, it hurts your eyes. It's noticeable. I don't know if people acclimate to it or what, but just driving through it, you could feel the difference. It was uncomfortable. But I hit things at night. I also got Nebraska during the day both times. And then, now the Salt Flats I got at sunrise, which was nice. That was a nice view. I saw my first tumbleweed when we were coming along this way, and I was so happy. Just because it's an amusing little thing when you've never actually seen one before. But 80 was the most direct route. Lived here for a while. I got sick here. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I'm going to zoom out to make it easier. While living in Massachusetts, I had taken a trip that looped around and came back down. So I had been in Canada. I have seen Niagara Falls from both sides. And that was in the early 2000s, before anything other than a hi at the checkpoint at the border was a thing. While living in Reno, I went with a friend and coworker to the Bolt in Sacramento twice. Once for the Sacramento Valley Bear competition, and I visited San Francisco once. But I got sick here, was told that, yeah, we can't even properly diagnose you, let alone treat you. You would have to go to San Francisco for that, which is a 6-hour drive, and I wasn't going to be able to work. And yeah, I needed to move back in with my parents so that I could get medical care, because there's lots of good doctors in Portland. Maine Medical Center is actually a good place that I have the equivalent of frequent flyer miles in, really. But so, drove all the way back across, and have been stuck this little junction since 2004. Now, when I went to get um, subsidized housing, I included places that were closer to my doctors or other relevant things. But if you don't take the place that becomes available, you get put at the back of the line. And there's high demand and very little supply for the only kind of affordable housing that exists. So when the place that came up was a place in the same goddamn town, it made the moving itself a bit easier because my stuff didn't have to go very far, and I could do multiple trips if my body was up to it in any given day. But I got no convenience out of it. Now, since being here, I have taken one trip twice, and I deemed it both. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, but the trip to VidCon itself, the cross-country flight both ways, and even in the cheapest place you can stay, the accommodations tax is 19.5% or something. So even the cheapest places cost a lot more when you have to be there for a handful of days. So I have landed, well, I have had layovers in places I haven't properly stayed before. These don't count, but I've actually spent time in. I've landed in LAX and gone to Anaheim twice. But, so, yeah. I would like to have seen more of the world. Can't particularly afford it. So, this is a bit more than the scope of my experience. But, yeah, instead of taking this, which is 80, coming across a little lower, while it wouldn't have been a direct route, something would have had to change in Utah. I think the view might have been better, because there was just nothing to see. Nothing. And now I'm here. So, yeah, there's that. Oh, I do know stuff about a little island that you can't even see on this map. It's a Japanese island that's much closer to Taiwan than the bulk of Japan itself. And you have to zoom in quite close even to get its name of Iriamotejima. Now, this is where my favorite species of cat is from. This is the only place they're from. Different sources have said that Iriamote is 189 or 194 square kilometers. It's a very small island, but that is where the Iriamote cat is. If you've seen my Tumblr name, Prionilurus iriamotensis. That's the cat, and their island is. It's technically at the tail end of the Okinawan chain of islands, but yeah, it's much closer to Taiwan than the main islands of Japan. But that's just a little tidbit. But yeah, that was my idea for today. feel free to talk about places you've been and trips that you would not recommend to others in the comments. And I will talk to you again tomorrow.